A warm welcome here in our studio in Sarakunda. This is Star TV News with me, Maimuna Fadera. In the headlines tonight, we acted within the law. Minister of Finance, Honorable Mambre Njai, told the Finance and Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly. Drivers reluctant to reduce fares despite fuel price reduction. Reform Club donates sanitary items to frontline workers at the Kanifing General Hospital. Governments should not use the new coronavirus as a pretext for repression of people, says the U.S. ambassador. On the international scene, misinformation doubting containment of COVID-19 in Africa. We are facing a double pandemic. UN body warns of mega famines. Black people in UK 4 times more likely to die of COVID-19. Well, those were the headlines, and now the news in details. The Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Honorable Mambre Njai, has defended the decision of his ministry to procure food supplies for the poor and vulnerable Gambians across the country by mobilizing funds from the budget allocations of the various government, ministries, agencies and departments. Dada Cham files in this report.
The minister made a strong case for the government's mobilization of the emergency COVID-19 health fund and food supply fund of $500 million and $734 million, respectively, on Wednesday at the Finance and Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly, with raised concern that the Parliament was not involved in the process. Minister Njai explained that the COVID-19 monies were raised from 2020 budget allocation in line with the existing public finance regulation of the country and that they did not act outside the budget approach in the National Assembly. He emphasized that they did not spend anything that is beyond what was appropriated by the National Assembly in December 2019 and were guided by the Public Finance Act 2014. The minister added that a significant percentage of the $500 million was cut from the travel allocation of the government because global travel has been restricted due to the COVID pandemic, while the entire $734 million was sourced from saving from the debt service referral from the development partners. Honorable Sidia Jata indicated that he is disappointed that the minister is in contempt of the committee.
The thing I want to say is that I'm disappointed in the sense that my view is that the minister is in contempt of this committee. Why and how? When we had our first meeting with you, I raised issue with the $500 million and how it was raised. And it was then that I suggested that you should furnish us with how it was done. And that's the document you have just referred to. We have got it. But the reason why I'm saying you are in contempt of our committee is that we discussed that day, because I raised it, and I said the environment was illegal. And I stated why it was, based on this document, the Supreme Law of the land. And then to my surprise, after that, I'm told that we have also raised again $734 million using the same process. So that's why I'm saying you are in contempt of the committee. Because the committee made it clear to you that according to this, that practice was not correct. But you insisted and did even something worse than what you did before. So I want you to explain what is your authority in doing that.
Responding to Honorable Sidia Jata, the Minister of Finance, Honorable Mambre Njai, outlined that he did not believe that he is in contempt of the committee.
Don't believe I am in contempt of the committee. It was an opinion, and that we are guided by the Public Finance Act, and it has always been very clear that the understanding, once the appropriation has been made, only violence has been something that we've been doing, and we've been guided by the Public Finance Act. It's very clear. So just because it's your opinion.
However, Honorable Sidi Ojata put it to the minister that he is stating what the law is saying and not his opinion.
You are saying that I my opinion. I'm not stating an opinion. I'm stating what the law says. Section 153 of the Constitution is very clear. It is saying that subject to section 154, if in respect of any financial year it is found that the amount appropriated under the Appropriation Act is insufficient, or that a need has arisen for a purpose for which no amount has been appropriated by that act, a supplementary estimate showing the sums required shall be laid before the National Assembly in court. And you know, technically, you see, for me, environment is a fraud. Technically, it is a fraud. Why? Because it was the authority of Parliament which established where you are wiring from. You know, we made a law that this sum should be allocated for this particular sector. That's the expenditure for that particular sector. That's the law we made. And we are the only authority that can change that law, not you. So environment is in fact a fraud, because we made a law that this is how this amount should be expended. If it is not expended, it is not your authority that should say how it should be expended. It is the authority of the Parliament which should establish whether or not the sum should remain where it is, or it should move from where it is to somewhere else. And that's why the law is requiring you to consult if the need arises. And the act you are referring to, Section 30 is saying what? What is Section 30 of the Finance Act is saying? What is it saying? 29. 29. Yes.
29(4)(c).
Yes. Okay. If you look at them, you will see that I'm not stating an opinion. Even though I don't even agree with that act, provision of the act. Even though I don't agree with it. But let's take it for granted that I agree with what you are saying, referring to this, that your law itself is in fact saying no. Now I'm saying Section 30 because this is Section 30 is a revised budget. There is nothing preventing you from doing that, Section 30, what it's saying. And may I put this to you, please? It was the National Assembly in its session which raised alert for COVID-19 and the need for preparedness and the need for even for us to close down our session and go up to sensitize our people. We raised the alarm. So it is not that we are opposed to expenditure on COVID-19. In fact, for us the expenditure is too late. How many months? How many months since this thing has started? And we are still unprepared to say the fact. So that is the position. It's not my position, it's the position of the law that I'm trying to defend. You do not have authority to via as far as the law is concerned, because technically it was the Parliament which decided that this should be so, and it was made law. To change that law, you must come back to Parliament to seek authority. And you fail to do it. That's why I'm saying you are in contempt because this was raised to you in our last meeting. The Accountant General was there also.
Other members of the National Assembly Subcommittee, including Honorable Yakumba Jaite and Honorable Fatimata Jai, observed that the Prevention of Public Finance Act that the ministry relieved is where in contraventions with the Constitution and should be reversed. In response, the minister said they were in the process of reversing the act to conform the Constitution, but until that is done, they have to rely on it to do their work. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dado Cham.
Gambian commercial drivers have refused to reduce the price of fares, even though the price of fuel has been reduced by the government to at least 50%. The reduction came as part of measures to make life easier to both drivers and passengers during the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, Star TV therefore had an interview with the president of the Gambia Transport Union, Omar Cisse, to know exactly what the transport union is doing to make sure drivers comply with the new traffic. Mati Sengor files in this report.
Fuel price was reduced on April 30, 2020, as part of efforts to curb the deadly virus. Many therefore expected that transport fares will be reduced, but a series of complaints from passengers means nothing of that sort has happened yet. However, in an interview with Cisse, he noted that government reduced the fuel because of the pandemic and drivers were asked to take half the normal number to avoid the spread of the pandemic. He noted that the fare was never increased by the transport union, but rather the drivers for a reason of inadequate garage to control them.
What most as far as the law is concerned, the fare remain the same. Well, we understand some individuals increased fare for themselves, but it's unlawful. But for this double, triple fares, the cost of it is because of the garage, lack of garage, because vehicles need to have the departure and the final destination. But Gambia, we don't have the proper garage. That's why all the vehicles are standing at the roads, so they do whatever they want to do. But still, we can engage them to see how development you can do about it.
According to Mr. Cisse, there is no Transport Act to govern the people, and it's a free market. He further went on to say that the double and triple fare is done by the lack of enough garages, since there is no specific place to depart and allied people to their final destinations, so drivers stand wherever they want. However, he said that KMC promised to get them 3 car parks, but it was not put on paper, it was verbally said. They have allocated 3 places where to build those garages.
Right now we have committee with the Cardiff Municipal Council. They promised that they're going to build 3 car parks within the KMC. So, yeah, promise.
Not put in paper?
No, almost try. We are almost into that. But we allocate 3 garages for them so that they can start to develop those garages so that we can start it from there.
He concluded by advising the drivers to know that the people they are carrying are their relatives and they should not impose such difficulties on them. They should know that this is just a matter of time and these difficult times will soon come to an end. Mati Sengor reporting for Star TV.
The Banjul Reform Club, under the dynamic leadership of Charles May, proprietor of General Engineering Company, earlier yesterday donated sanitary items to frontline health workers at the Cardiff General Hospital in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The initiative was made to assist the frontline workers in fighting against the new coronavirus called COVID-19 in the Gambia. Jacqueline Koli was there and she now reports.
The president of the club, Mr. Charles Mbai, said the club is just a milestone away from the hospital. So there he thought it was wise to make a donation to the hospital since it is within their vicinity.
And at one point I sat down and I said, what is Reform Club doing? Everybody is donating. We are just sitting there idle. I think somebody has to commit some initiative to ensure that we do something for the hospital. Apart from doing something from the hospital is just next door to us. If something happens at night, your family or somebody, that's your first step you have to turn to. So basically what I did was, my focus was on HSE. I'm sure you know the HSE, health and safety. Engineers always think about health and safety in an environment. So if you look at some of the products that I had, they are totally HSE, health and safety equipment, cleanliness. If you work in a hospital, the first thing you think about is the environment. So my emphasis was basically laid on ensuring that we have all the paraphernalia, clean equipment that you need to keep the hospital safe for everybody that works in.
Mr. Charles Mbai added that the government alone cannot render help, so they had to come forward to see to it that the Gambian government defeat COVID-19, which gives them a sense of purpose and their civic rights to participate equally like others for a brighter nation. In these trying times, he added, it is necessary to help the hospital, especially the frontline workers. Receiving the items, Babukar Sen, the administrator of the Kanifing General Hospital, said the management and staff of the hospital are delighted to have received this donation from the club.
Without doubt, there's so many social groups like the Reform Club of Banjul, but it is safe to say that this is the first time we have received a donation from a group of that nature. So we want to say a very big thank you.
Mr. Sen highlighted that the hospital is the biggest within the Kanifing municipality and they serve almost 1/3 of the Gambian population. Currently, they receive referral from 26 health facilities, both public and private, and record over 200,000 outpatients throughout the year.
So today, with your donation, it will really boost the morale of our staff. Because one important strategy in the fight against COVID-19 is cleanliness, as Mr. Mbai rightly mentioned. If the hospital environment is clean, if staff adhere to safety precautions by washing their hands, by using masks, by practicing social distancing, then we can make sure that our staff, patients, and visitors are protected from COVID-19. The items donated, I've gone through them. Not only that they are of quality, but these are the things that we need at the moment to make sure that the hospital is clean.
The secretary of the club, Malik Jones, said the club is a gentleman club and they found it very necessary through the inspiration they had from the club's president, Mr. Charles Mbai, who initiated the donation to support the frontline workers at the hospital because they deal directly with infected patients of COVID-19. Jacqueline Coley, reporting for Star TV News.
The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and West African Health Organization on Thursday, 7th May 2020, in a statement on their Twitter account, reported a large endorsement of CVO medication. The tonic, which is also called COVID Organic CVO, was officially launched by Madagascar President André Rajoelina. It is a herbal mixture developed by the Madagascar Institute of Applied Research. Maya Madam reports.
The dismissal is coming days after several media houses had reported that Madagascar is curing COVID-19 cases with the herbal tonic and is the reason the country has had a 92% recovery rate out of its 128 cases. Our attention has been drawn to a story making the headlines that claims ECOWAS has ordered a package of COVID organics medicine from a third country, the statement said. We wish to disassociate ECOWAS and its health institution, West Africa Health Organization, from this claim and to inform the general public that we have not ordered the said CVO medication. As part of its mandate to safeguard and improve the health of the region's population, WHO remains committed to promoting rational traditional medicine practices and products in the ECOWAS region, and over the years has worked consistently with the member states to scientifically investigate plant medicines of proven efficacy. These products are documented in our ECOWAS Traditional Medicines, the second edition of which will be published in the next few weeks. WHO has also in the recent past identified, nurtured and supported centers of excellence in traditional medicine across the ECOWAS region. We are aware that several claims of a COVID-19 cure have been made in different parts of the world, but we can only support and endorse products that have been shown to be effective through scientific study. For this reason, WHO is collaborating with relevant partners, including WHO, Africa CDC, national, regional, and international research consortia to promote the scientific search for a cure. We are working with the member states on some of the medications available for clinical trials and for use on a compassionate basis in selected severe cases. Some of the traditional medicine centers of excellence in the ECOWAS region are also currently investigating products of potential efficacy. ECOWAS Commission and WHO will continue to focus on delivering on the decisions made by ECOWAS heads of state and government at their recent extraordinary summit on the fight against COVID-19. one of which is to strengthen cooperation among member states in research, training, and experience sharing in health matters in general and in the fight against COVID-19 in particular. About the West African Health Organization, WHO is the specialized institution of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, responsible for health issues. Its mission is to attain the highest possible standard and protection of health of the peoples in the sub-region through the harmonization of the policies of the member states, pooling of resources, and cooperation with one another and with others for a collective and strategic fight against the health problems of the sub-region. Mariama Dem, reporting for Star TV News.
In a telephonic press briefing on Wednesday, U.S. Ambassador Tibok P. Negi, Assistant Secretary, Bureau of African Affairs, said government should not use the disease as a pretext for repression of people or ideas in the media or elsewhere, and that vibrant free press is more important than ever to ensure the public receives timely and accurate information about the virus and how to stop its spread. The briefing was based on the U.S. response to the COVID-19 pandemic in Africa and the coordination effort with national government on the continent. Dado Cham has the rest of the details.
After recently making World Press Freedom Day, and concern were noted that some countries have used their COVID-19 crisis to further strengthening media freedoms, particularly in response to independent reporting relating to the crisis, indicated Ambassador Nagy. He said government responses to the COVID-19 pandemic must focus on protecting public health and highlighted that government transparency, accountability, and freedom of expression, including for the members of the media, are critical for an effective response to COVID-19. Ambassador Nagy said, as always, the United States will continue to collaborate with our African partners to address COVID-19 and whatever other challenges come their way. In reflecting on the importance of transparency and other matters such as aid, debt, and health information, the benefits of working with a free and open society versus one that is not readily apparent, Nagy highlighted. When asked what is the United States response to African countries welcoming Chinese doctors and medical supplies to help deal with the COVID-19 pandemic on the continent, countries can decide who they are to deal with, whether it regards assisting of COVID-19 or whatever it might be. Regarding East African countries, which are not only being suffering from COVID-19, but they are also locust infestation. Some places have now excessive rainfall and flooding. Ambassador Nagy suggested that everybody knows that this will lead to hunger in the future, unfortunately. So some countries will obviously need emergency food assistance. Therefore, he thinks they can count on the United States as the one country in the world which can literally come up with the hundreds of thousands of tons of food supplies. The ambassador concluded with the belief he had that together this crisis will be solved, and when Africa comes out of this, the United States will be there so that they can really move forward. And hopefully the future will be brighter because they will take systematic approach to really working with each of the countries to make them able to get back on the road to recover. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dado Cham.
And now the news beyond our borders. Confirmed cases of the coronavirus are slowing rapidly in Africa. Health experts warn that efforts to contain the virus are being undermined by misinformation, including from some African leaders. Well, Al Jazeera's Catherine Soy reports from the Kenya's capital, Nairobi.
Victor Ngethe's job as a journalist with a fact-checking agency is to verify information on the internet and examine the truth to what government and political leaders are saying. He especially needs to be more diligent during the coronavirus pandemic. Ngethe has just analyzed a social media video of the governor of Kenya's capital, Nairobi, Mike Sonko, who recently included bottles of a brand of cognac in food relief packs, and gave this explanation.
That is Hennessy, which has some percentage of alcoholic content, and that should act as a throat sanitizer. It kills the virus. In case the virus is held somewhere in the throat, it kills.
As the disease continues to spread across the continent, so does misinformation about it.
A lot of false information and a lot of misinformation and disinformation play on your emotions. And when people are emotional, they can't be critical.
It's only this product in the world that kills the virus. People using SARS.
In Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni recently endorsed the production of a sanitizing spray that a medical investor said could cure the disease. Madagascar's president, Andre Rajoelina, also launched the distribution of a herbal drink he said kills the virus. In Kenya, some people are using home remedies they swear will protect them from getting sick. The World Health Organization has said there is no proven cure or vaccine.
These are confusing times for everybody. Many people are now relying more on online content for their coronavirus updates. Some of those we talk to say they are overwhelmed by all the information on social media. Others say they are relying on so-called cure recipes they've seen online. And most of this false information has been shared millions of times across the continent.
Morena Kenya is a volunteer with the Kenyan Red Cross. She distributes sanitizer, soap and masks on the streets of Nairobi and offers accurate information as opposed to the misinformation online.
Other people are telling us that they're drinking a lot, so it means they cannot contact the virus. And there are people who believe that COVID-19 is not for Africans. They are saying that thing is... In fact, this morning someone carried me and he told me COVID-19 is just for rich people. He doesn't believe in that.
She says the only way to counter the online misinformation is doing what she's doing, talking to people, answering their questions, and trying to calm their fears. Catherine Soy, Al Jazeera, Nairobi, Kenya.
The United Nations World Food Programme says billions of dollars are needed to help poorer countries cope with the COVID-19 pandemic and its economic effects. It is asking world leaders to contribute, saying that the coronavirus could push an additional 135 million people to the brink of starvation, warning that a failure to help could result in famines and conflict. Al Jazeera's James Bay reports from the United Nations in New York in USA.
An appeal for the most vulnerable countries on earth. Taking part in a virtual event, the UN's top humanitarian officials have identified 63 countries that need help both to fight the virus and to withstand the effects of the economic downturn.
And so what we're facing now is a double pandemic of truly famines that could impact us in biblical proportions. There's no question mega famines are on our brink, literally right now. Before COVID hit the scene, I mean, we already had 135 million people, as I say, marching on the brink of starvation.
The UN Emergency Relief Coordinator, who also spoke at the event, told me why the richer countries of the world need to act. Tell us the benefits of acting early.
It's always cheaper and better to act early, particularly with this kind of problem. What we're going to see if there's growing instability and growing migratory pressures and more space created for terrorist and other extremist groups is what's currently a one-year problem potentially being turned into a 10-year problem. And that's not in anybody's interests. The problem we're dealing with has the potential to circle back all around the world. No one will be safe until everybody's safe. So even in the midst of dealing with this huge domestic challenge in all the rich countries, the smartest strategy is to spend 1% of your effort thinking about the wider world as well.
The problem for this appeal is even the richest countries on earth are currently facing major economic problems. The first version of this appeal was some $2 billion, and the UN only managed to raise half that sum. Now they're asking for $6.7 billion. James Bayes, Al Jazeera, at the United Nations.
Black people are 4 times more likely to die of coronavirus than white people in the United Kingdom, the Office for National Statistics, ONS, has said. The ONS said people of Bangladesh, Pakistan and Indian origin are also at a significant high risk. The UK has the second highest coronavirus death toll in the world with more than 30,000 deaths. Al Jazeera's Junan Hall reports from northwest London.
Food donations being prepared for the community at a Pentecostal church in the London borough of Brent. The Reverend Desmond Hall shows us around.
These people are elderly, vulnerable, disabled, some have dementia, some are disorientated.
Brent is one of the areas of London worst affected by COVID-19. New research suggests that's in part because of its high percentage of black, Asian and minority ethnic or BAME residents.
Our community is struggling. Our community, as you may be aware, this side of Brent is within the double digits of deprivation. So the indices of deprivation, we are double-digit deprivation here.
Figures from the Office of National Statistics indicate that people from BAME groups are 4 times more likely to die from COVID-19 than their white ethnic counterparts. The ONS points to social inequality as a major factor, and health officials agree.
BME communities are more likely to live in deprived situations. They're more likely to live in overcrowded accommodation, and many of them are in frontline work, which is exposing them to the virus. So it does show that this virus, rather than being a great leveller, is exacerbating the existing health inequalities that sadly are all too prevalent in our society.
The latest numbers are in line with similar trends among ethnic minority groups elsewhere in the world. At the Reverend Hall's church, we meet Jennifer Green, who does what she can to help those struggling in her community, despite having underlying health conditions herself.
These people that are being seen are not well. They're sick. So some of them, where it's hard for some of them, as you mentioned, the poor community, some of them can't read. So it's hard for them to pick up a phone, or they have a pride, they don't know who to turn to.
So people are dying, as we say in the biblical terms, people are dying for lack of knowledge. Knowledge is power. And when a community doesn't have knowledge, the community's power is taken away.
In the end, this looks like an issue of poverty and of race, of minority ethnic groups less well connected to public services, more likely to be doing low-paid jobs that they can't afford to give up, and very often directly exposed to the virus as nurses, as bus drivers, often on the front line of the fight against coronavirus. It's yet another way in which this virus is tearing into societies and communities. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, London.
Families in Venezuela are searching for relatives they say have become political prisoners after a failed coup attempt to overthrow President Nicolas Maduro. According to a Washington Post newspaper report, Venezuela's opposition members negotiated a $213 million deal with a small Florida security company to invade the country on May 3rd. Venezuelan authorities have arrested more than a dozen people, including Americans who work for a farm they say were part of the plot. The U.S. government denies any involvement, Al Jazeera's Teresa Bo reports.
Andreina Baduel and her sister Margaret are desperate to find their brother Adolfo. He was arrested for allegedly participating in the plot to oust President Nicolás Maduro. They came here to the Helicoide, an infamous detention center in Caracas, where political prisoners are said to be detained.
We found out about the detention of my brother like everybody else. We spoke with him 1 week ago. We don't know where he is, and we've gone to several places, prosecutor's office. My family has been politically persecuted by the government, and this is just one more proof of it.
Adolfo is the son of Raúl Baduel, a former Minister of Defense of Hugo Chavez, who is also in prison, accused of inciting rebellion against the current administration. On May 3rd, the Venezuelan government announced it had detained a group of mercenaries who were trying to reach Venezuela on speedboats. 8 people were killed. It was part of what is known as Operation Gedeon, organized by Jordan Goudreau, director of a security firm in the United States. The Venezuelan government insists the Trump administration knew about the plan.
Please explain to me how some planes would leave from the United States, land in Venezuelan airports, which these terrorists were going to clear, take members of the Venezuelan Revolution and take them to the United States. How would all that happen without any knowledge from Trump's administration?
President Nicolás Maduro says the U.S. security firm signed a contract with opposition leader Juan Guaidó. Guaidó denies involvement in the plot. But one of his political advisors does admit signing a contract with Goudreau to remove Maduro from power, and even paid him $50,000 as retainer. The advisor says that plan was cancelled last year. Why Jordan Goudreau's 60-man private army went to Venezuela, regardless, is now the subject of intense speculation. One theory is that security firms such as Goudreau's are attracted by the bounty offered by the U.S. government. $50 million for Maduro alone, and more than $40 million if high-ranking officials are taken with him.
There must be many companies interested in ousting Maduro because now that you put the private option on the table, the bounty is big. Now they say Guaido did not sign a contract, his advisor signed it. They say it was an exploration, but it's a bit strange signing a 42-page contract on how they're going to pay a private company $242 million for ousting Maduro.
Udro is now in hiding, but the incident is a blow to the already weakened Venezuelan opposition and gives the government even more power to go after those who dare to dissent. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera.
And before we end the news, Erukaba for our main headlines. We acted within the law. Minister of Finance, Honorable Mamburin Jai, told the Finance and Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly drivers reluctant to reduce fares despite fuel price reduction. Reform Club donates sanitary items to frontline workers at the Kanifing General Hospital. Governments should not use the new coronavirus as a pretext for repression of people, says U.S. Ambassador. Misinformation, Darwin, containment of COVID-19 in Africa. We are facing a double pandemic, UN body warns of mega famines. Black people in UK 4 times more likely to die of COVID-19. Well, that's all for this edition of the news. Please enjoy the rest of our programs and join us tomorrow for more news. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful night. Bye for now.